The Clippers need to find an offensive rhythm. They may actually have too much talent. That being said, you have Kawhi Leonard and you have Paul George. Two excellent players, two two-way superstars that operate from the same spacing in the offense. With that being said, if Kawhi Leonard is the first option on the team, that means he gets first picking at the offense is going to go through him. He's going to shoot from the spots that he's most comfortable shooting at. For Paul George, on the other hand, he has to do the opposite of what Kawhi Leonard is doing, which is forcing him to shoot more shots further away from the rim. With that being said, we can look at his recent shooting performance today. He went 3 for 14 overall, 1 for 7 from the three-point line. What does that tell you? Paul George is not really a three-point shooter. He does not really want that shot. Can he make that shot, and is he known for hitting big shots from that area? Yeah, he is. But Paul George makes a bulk of his shots closer to the basket. As you see, he has a nice crafty handle. He can finish at the bucket with either hand. He can hit from anywhere on the court. But if you start out your games shooting from 30 feet or behind the three-point line and you don't see that ball fall in early, it's going to knock your confidence and it's going to set you back mentally just a little bit. And that little bit that is setting him back is throwing off his entire game. Now let's go back to the Clippers may have too much offensive talent. You have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on the court at the same time. Why do you think when the bench comes in the game with Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, they work together so well? Because they're opposites. Why is Anthony Davis and LeBron James working together so well? And on the games that they don't work well together is because they have to do the same things. That's what people are not understanding. It's not because Paul George is just shooting terribly. It's because he's a terrible shooter. Oh, he's just not showing up, etc. That's not the case at all. When you look at his overall stats, every season that he shot 7 or more threes, except for one season, his last season in Oklahoma City, which ended in a first-round exit to the Portland Trail Blazers, his points per game in general went down. His last 2 seasons at Indiana, he averaged 23 points a game 2 years in a row. Why? Because he's shooting less threes and he's getting those shots closer to the basket. He's a mid-range specialist. He likes to finish at the bucket, and then he'll step out to the three. But what the Clippers are not understanding is if you want to make it to the finals, your offense really has to run through Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard has to get those late pickings. The reason why I say that is because Kawhi Leonard, he's not really the player that's going to go out there and give you 40. Yeah, he's going to give you 35. Yes, he's going to put up big numbers. But when you look at his game is not designed to give you big numbers. His game is designed off of efficiency. Paul George, on the other hand, he's very crafty with the dribble. He can finish. He can get past any defender. It does not matter who it is. We can go back to those 2013 Indiana Pacers versus the Miami Heat series where he took LeBron James and that Miami Heat team to 7 games. What was he doing then? He was doing anything he wanted because the ball was going through him. The offense was running through him. If the Clippers do not want to run the offense through Paul George, he's going to struggle like this. You have to get him going early, not with threes. You have to draw up plays to where he's in that mid-range, to where he's from free throw line in. You'll see him put up a big performance. You get him going early from that free throw line in, and then you give Kawhi Leonard that green light to go ahead and do his thing as well because you know he's consistent. Kawhi Leonard is a champion. Kawhi Leonard knows how to win. It's literally supposed to be like Mike and Pippen, except Paul George is now your offensive Mike, and Kawhi Leonard is also your Mike, but on that defensive end. You have to remember you have two-way superstars that operate from the same space on the court. Everybody that knows basketball knows that basketball is a game of spacing. Whoever controls that space, whoever can dominate that area and hit those open shots and create those shots is going to win the game. Look at Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Luka is so crafty with that dribble. As you see, he had a 40-point triple-double today. So crafty with that dribble, can do anything he wants on that court. But when he passes that ball to Kristaps Porzingis isn't so crafty with it. Yeah, he has a nice handle. Yes, he can do these things. He can get to the basket, but he's not as crafty as Luka. Kristaps Porzingis likes to shoot that three. He likes to shoot from further back. That's why they're working together so well. But when you have two of those same players referring back to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that's why you see Paul George struggling, because Paul George is not the player that wants to shoot 7 threes a game. If he shoots 7 threes a game, he wants to shoot 14 mid-range jumpers a game to get him going to those threes, because every hooper knows you have to see that ball going in the bucket before you have that utmost confidence of standing away from that bucket and shooting that shot. The Clippers have more talent than the Dallas Mavericks. They're not supposed to be tied up 2-2, especially losing those games the way they did. And everybody, the public opinion thinks that they got away with one in game one. We have to understand what the real issue is and not just blame players, because that's a real toxic way to look at the game. And if you're going to look at the game that way, then you'll never understand why teams win or lose, especially coming down in the playoffs. But I will say this, the playoffs is not the time where you want to find out who's who and who's not who. The Clippers need to get on their horse, because in 2 more games, that can be the deciding factor depending on how they go.